is a LawInSport Insight with me, Sean Cottrell, the founder of LawInSport, and I'm joined by Benoît Keane of Keane Legal. Today we'll be discussing a recent sports conference that was held by the Irish Presidency of the European Union on sustainable financing of sport of EU policy. Benoît, you were at the conference last week. How was it?
Yes, I think it was an excellent conference, and what was fantastic is that the Irish government have put the sustainable financing of sport right at the heart of EU sports policy. And I think for that is to be congratulated, because this has really been the missing piece of the jigsaw for quite some time. People have not fully realised that without having sustainable forms of financing of sport, the rest really doesn't matter, whether that comes sports rights or governance. Everything must come back to being able to operate sport in a sustainable way. And so the conference gave us a good overview of a number of different issues. We had participants from the world of sport like Keith Woods, there was Sarah Keane from Swim Ireland and a number of other organisations, as well as broadcasters and the odd lawyer like myself.
And you were talking at the conference in particular. I believe you were talking about the sports rights.
Yes, well, my role really within the conference was to bring the element of sports rights and how they are created and used, and then linking that to the sustainable financing of sport. So at the beginning, really, I was setting out the legal issues in terms of what are sports rights and what do we mean by them. And I explained to the conference that really what we were talking about is a range of intellectual property rights, contractual rights, as well as personality rights. And I showed how the sports rights are used by organizations in order to finance their activities, in particular by solidarity mechanisms across leagues, and also grassroots funding. And this is a major source of funding for both professional and grassroots sports.
And in particular, I know that this has been talked about a lot, and I think it will continue to be the case over the coming months and years. But a sports events rights in terms of the gambling sector having a sports events right. Do you think that's something that's going to be taking up?
Well, I think it's going to be a very important debate going forward. But what I set out to the conference is that the present situation, there is no EU-wide intellectual property right for sports organisers' events. What this means is that they are not able to license out or control in any way the information that they receive on betting patterns, and this has huge issues for integrity. And again, this is linked to the sustainability of a sports event. If your sport event is put in jeopardy by irregular bets and you don't have the right amount of information, then you are running into difficulties. In addition, there is a fair value question, and that is a separate but also a very important part of it, that sports organisers should receive a fair return on the investment that they make in their activities. And essentially what I pointed out to the conference is that the current situation whereby sports organisers put in all the investment, whereas betting organisations take a huge benefit from that, is akin to ambush marketing. And that really is not a sustainable way of going forward.
And from the point of view of the gambling and betting companies, in the UK, for example, we have they pay. They would say that they pay through sponsorship and other mechanisms. They give a lot back to sport. How does that differ across Europe, and is that enough?
Well, I think the point about individual sponsorship or individual situations between, say, a club and one particular betting organisation is that those funds are only going into that particular club or to that particular individual. That fund is not used or pooled centrally, and it is not shared out amongst the sport or sports as a whole. So I think this is something that the EU is currently examining in a detailed study to be carried out over the course of the year into what sort of mechanisms are available across the EU and what should be taken forward as perhaps as an ideal way to proceed. Now, whether that's at an EU level or a national level is something that's under intense discussion.
And from a gut instinct point of view, where do you see this going? Do you see it having any legs, or do you see?
I think there is a huge amount of will to address this issue. I think it may not be immediate, but I think we're seeing the more and more the EU member states waking up to the fact that there is a huge question for the integrity of sport as well as the fair value for sport by the absence of any right at the moment, and that this is something that in the very least needs addressing, perhaps on an individual member state by member state basis to start with, and perhaps then at a broader EU level in the future. This is not going to happen tomorrow, but I think it's going to be an ongoing discussion over the forthcoming years.
I'm sure we're going to get a lot of feedback on this, and I would welcome our readers to come forward with their opinions and let's encourage this debate further. And it's great to hear about people's different points of view, and I'm sure that we'll be hearing from you, and you're producing some commentary over this over the coming year.
Absolutely.
So we look forward to receiving that. Well, thank you for your time, Benoît, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much for asking me.
Bye.